Welcome back to Setup Wars episode 343, ladies and gents. Now, I know last week's episode was late by a week, but I promise you it was a force majeure. To make it up to you, however, I'm going to hit you with the best Setup Wars intro for a little bit of nostalgia. So sit back and relax, because you know what time it is. This video is sponsored by VIPYourCDKey.com. If you're building yourself a PC or you're looking to upgrade Windows, do not pay full price for a key and instead pick them up from here. They have legit Windows 10 Pro keys as well as Windows 11 Pro keys for dirt cheap. Using the code TS20, you'll get a nice discount. And after checking out, they will send you instructions on how to retrieve the key within a minute. And afterwards, all you have to do is go into the activation settings and put it in, and you're good to go. Kicking off the episode is Kevin, a front-end web developer from Germany with his anime-inspired setup. It took him around a year to complete, and he uses it mainly for gaming, coding, and you guessed it, watching anime. Kevin is rocking a single 27-inch Asus TUF gaming monitor resting on a custom-made wooden riser. Whether you're mounting your monitor or using a default stand, a riser is always a good addition to your setup. You know, it adds both to the looks as well as gives you more space for additional gear and decor. In this case, Kevin used it to raise his Google Nest Hub, Logitech Z120 speakers, which are also tilted to ear level, by the way, good job. All of this sandwiched by a fake plant and desk fan. Doing so allowed him to have space for the rest of his gear and desk decor, as well as the mouse and keyboard cables. Talking about the peripherals, he went with a fully customized Japanese-style GMMK Pro keyboard and a Razer Viper Ultimate Rouse resting on a non-TS Topo mousepad. For audio, Kevin's choice fell on the Elgato Wave 3 microphone and Wave Arm combo, and the Logitech Z120 speakers we mentioned earlier. When it's time to game though, he switches to the Razer Black Shark V2 Pros, which are stored on the pegboard to the right. Pegboards are always a simple and budget-friendly way to not only store, but also display anything you want, adding that touch of personality. For instance, besides his headphones, Kevin has a backup Razer Huntsman keyboard, various keycaps, switches, cleaning gear, and collectibles proudly displayed right above his PC, which features a Ryzen 7 3700X and the MSI RTX 3080 inside the Corsair 4000D. Two side notes though. First, you've got 16 gigs of RAM, and you use the Corsair Vengeance dummy kit to cover the rest of the DIMM slots. But looking at the RGB, is this the color scheme you went for, or is one of the sticks actually not synchronizing with the others? You might want to check that out just in case. Second, your custom cable combs are the other way around. We saw this in the last episode with the Johnny Bravo cables in Anthony's setup. Last but not least, let's take a look underneath the desk. You can already tell someone's a Setup Wars connoisseur when you notice not only one, but two pencil drawers to keep miscellaneous items out of the way. Very nice job, my guy. All the cables seem to be under control, stored in the cable racks in the back and attached with a couple of cable clips to the desk. No loose cables in sight, very clean job overall. It's always important to pay attention to not only the main gear of the setup, but also the personal touches that truly make it your own. The placement of the accent and contour lighting not only highlights the space, but also showcases the collection of displays and collectibles right behind them. You know, each piece tells a story, reflecting interest and personality, and it's these details that bring a setup to life. So thank you, Kevin, for sharing this with us today. Shifting gears and moving away from the RGB meta is Max with his gorgeous nature and car themed setup. He's a 17-year-old student from England that upgraded his setup in the span of 7 years, and he uses it for making music, sim racing, and Blender and photo editing. Let's just take a moment to appreciate the quality of the photos that Max has provided for us. You know, it's not a must to take professional photos by any means. Just a regular smartphone is more than enough. But I can speak for everyone when I say that we do appreciate the quality here. You know, we've seen setups with warm and cozy wooden tones before, like Connor's in episode 321 or I Don't Know from episode 339. But Max's setup tells a whole different story. This space represents a crossroads where his love for nature and wildlife meets his passion for racing in cars. The colors he's chosen harmonize the natural world with the mechanical, with their only shared trait being organized sounds. Nature and cars together, creating what can only be described as music. Wow, that was really poetic. I think I need a drink after that.
A few moments later.
If you guys saw my house tour, then you know I have a custom bar area that has a bunch of unused, unopened cognac bottles that are collecting dust. Well, I actually managed to find one that's open. I think we opened this up like 6 months ago. So I'll take a shot of this inside my Tesla shot glass. It's 11 a.m. right now, but you know what? It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? Cheers to your setup, Max. Oh, that's why I don't drink cognac. Oh my God. Should have got some water, Christ. So it looks like Max is rocking triple displays. We got a 24-inch BenQ Designer, which he uses for editing, stacked on top of a Zowie 240Hz and a 1080p Asus in vertical on the side. Quite literally the perfect choice for all of his passions and multitasking. All three are mounted to the Carlby countertop using the same monitor mount, which was initially meant for only 2 monitors, but he added an extra arm for a third display later down the line. The good old Contis light bar on top is also a great addition, given he doesn't have other light sources directly in front of him to light up his workspace. You know, one day I want to meet the founder of Contis and shake his hand and ask him why he named the company that. What a legend. His peripherals of choice are a custom KBD75 keyboard with a wooden wrist rest and the G Pro X Superlight in black, on top of a Topo mousepad from Etsy. You know that stitching on your mousepad wouldn't have faded that bad if you bought a Topo from the TechSource shop, which actually just reminds me, we're in the process of switching distributors for the 4th time, I believe, which means better quality pads, and for once, I'm super excited to announce cheaper shipping across the US. We expect to make the full transition in the next 2 to 3 months, and I'm feeling lightheaded from that shot. God damn. That's how lightweight I am. Oh man, I don't drink. I normally don't drink, but that thing messed me up. Where was I? Full transition in the next 2 to 3 months with the announcements of TS wrist rests and leather pads. So yeah, be on the lookout for those guys. A lot of exciting stuff coming soon. The audio setup here is just as thoughtfully arranged, featuring the Edifier R1280T speakers with wooden accents that complements the setup's aesthetic perfectly. He put them on a couple of stands to angle them to his ear level, but whenever he needs to focus, he switches to the DT990 Pro's limited black edition headphones. If we look at his microphone, attaching a boom arm at the back of the desk allows for easy access when needed and keeps the workspace clean by tucking away when not in use. Well thought out. Max doesn't have a big amount of gear, but managing cables is still no easy feat. Even so, the cables are virtually invisible. The Docker setting of the setup certainly helps here, but it's the neat managing of the cables that makes a difference. Multiple cable ties, clips, and Velcro straps were used to make sure every inch of this setup is as clean and organized as possible. The PC powered setup fits the overall theme very well. It's packing the Ryzen 7 5800X and a Founders Edition RTX 2070 Super. You know, we haven't seen one of these on the show in quite a while, but I assume the GPU is going to be your next upgrade for the PC. The whole vibe of the setup is truly amazing. From the color combinations to the car posters, Formula One driver prints, paintings, Lego cars, and even the stuffed animals from your childhood. It all comes together to create a cozy, warm, and familiar getaway. This space doesn't just house a setup, it tells a story of passion and nostalgia. Thank you once again, Max, for sharing this with us and for providing such high quality photos. Coming in at number 3 is our first girl contestant in quite some time, techkatt. She's an IT manager from Japan who put this setup together in 3 months for work and gaming. The very first things that caught my attention are obviously that massive 65-inch LG OLED TV, but also that beautifully designed wall behind the setup. But if you look closely, you will notice that it's actually not the real wall of the room. but rather a secondary wall covering the main one. Being a longtime fan of the show, techkatt was inspired to make her own blueprints and build her ultimate dream setup. She worked with carpenters and created this second wall, specifically to hide all the cables, and let me tell you, it does a great freaking job. It essentially acts like an oversized headboard. She even designed a small maintenance door underneath the desk for easy access to manage the cables. Amazing job. Now coming back to the setup, I know you guys are probably wondering about the choice of such a large display at such a short distance. And there's a reason for it. You see, techkatt has visual impairments. She lost vision in her left eye due to glaucoma and faces other eyesight challenges. After years of searching for the right solution, she finally found what works best for her. Ultimately, a setup is a personal journey, and it comes down to what's most comfortable for the person that owns it and uses it. techkatt, you are truly an inspiration. Everything in this setup appears to be floating. In fact, the only thing touching the floor is the Akamura chair. She went with a margin cabinet desk, which supports all of her main gear and a full set of Razer peripherals. The Huntsman Tournament Edition keyboard and the Mamba Hyperflux mouse and mousepad combo, all complemented with matching coiled cables. For audio, she opted for a pair of KEF speakers built into the wall. We got a Sennheiser MKH50 microphone and AKG headphones, all connected to the Teak DAC amp and Wave XLR stashed neatly underneath the desk. I know some of you guys might not think much of it, but my audiophiles watching out there will know that this is some insane gear. Everything else is also arranged very well. We've got the Stream Deck and Google Nest Hub Max on the desk, a couple of key lights mounted on the wall, a Sony camera mounted on an arm, and thanks to that ingeniously designed second wall, not a single cable is in sight. All of this is powered by the PC on the floating cabinet to the left, featuring some beefy specs. We got an i9 12900K and an RTX 3080 Ti. It looks like you still haven't removed the plastic foil from the side panels, by the way. I assume that's to keep them from getting dirty too quickly, but wouldn't the plastic just get dirty instead? If you're watching this, let me know in the comment section. I would love to know. I absolutely love the whole vibe you've created in this room. The second wall hiding the RGB strips, adding a subtle glow, the abstract oil paintings on the left, small shelves with decor, the cozy armchair, and of course your furry little friend, all come together to create a very inviting atmosphere. I've said this already and I'll say it again, techkatt, you are an inspiration to all of us. You remind us of our passions regardless of what circumstances we are in. Your setup is a testament to the fact that no type of impairment or disability should prevent anyone from pursuing their dreams and creating their ideal space. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your incredible journey with all of us. Up next, we have a couple setup built by Temu and his girlfriend. Are you running an orange-themed online marketplace with piracy issues by any chance? Jokes aside, Temu is a 25-year-old industrial worker from Finland, and he built these setups together with his girlfriend over the span of 2 months. We actually have a separate dedicated setup wars just for couple setups, so if there are any Cupid-struck duos watching this video, feel free to toss a submission. If we get enough, we might just do another episode. Ladies first, so let's start with the girlfriend setup. It looks like she went with a majority black color scheme with purple lighting and accents, except for the white furniture, of course. She's rocking a single 34-inch 144Hz AOC monitor and a whole set of Razer gear. She has the Black Widow keyboard, Tartarus keypad, and the Mamba Hyperflux mouse paired with the wireless charging mousepad, right on top of the Razer Goliathus extended mousepad. I do have to say, however, the monitor does seem like it's a bit too low to the desk. We still have the Razer Nari Ultimate wireless headphones, which are hanging on the little shelf to the side of the setup. Cable management seems to be under control with all the cables kept off the floor thanks to the net underneath the desk, so no complaints here. The PC powering the girlfriend setup features an i5 12600K paired with an RTX 3070. It's interesting that you went with the Lian Li Strimmer cables, which definitely aren't cheap. I'm not saying you shouldn't have, but personally I would have allocated a bit more of the budget to upgrading the RAM from 16 to at least 32 gigs. Of course, Temu has the upper hand with a better PC. He's running an i9 12900K paired with an RTX 4090 inside the O11 Dynamic Razer Edition case. Now on to the setup itself. Temu opted for the behemoth 49-inch Odyssey G9 monitor, which he mounted to the wall. Even with the wall mount, you can just see how much desk space it occupies, both in the length and the width. Personally, I could never use one. Just like I predicted, Temu also has a full set of Razer gear. He's rocking the Ornata Chroma keyboard, Basilisk V3 Pro mouse, and a Tartarus keypad. But this time around, we have a SteelSeries mousepad. Interesting choice here. You know that Razer has RGB mousepads, right? His audio setup is mainly Razer as well, featuring the Namo Chromo speakers and the Razer Seiren microphone. The only exception here are the headphones, which are the Arctis Nova Pros by SteelSeries, albeit on a Razer headphone stand. Traitor! I kind of want another shot, to be honest. I hate the flavor, but I kind of like the way I'm feeling right now. Warm and fuzzy. Now on to the cables, boys and girls. Yeah, boy. He did mention in the notes that his cable management isn't the best, so let's take a closer look, shall we? You know, at first glance, honestly, it's not bad at all. Definitely seen worse on the show, that's for sure. You've made an effort to keep all the cables off the ground, you tied them all together, and even drilled a hole through the desk to route some of them. I see that you used a couple of white raceways to hide the power cables going down, as well as those connecting to the monitor and the hexagonal RGB panels on the wall. I think everyone can agree with me that while putting a setup together is no easy task and requires a lot of effort, something is still missing. It's the crucial element that I mentioned earlier in this video: personality. I mean, sure, you've added a bit of decor like the cactus in your girlfriend's setup and the RGB hex panels and even some strips on your side of the room, but still, it isn't quite enough. I understand that you guys wanted to keep it as simple as possible without any unnecessary clutter, but even something as small as hanging a few cute couples pictures on the wall can enhance the overall look and bring more life to your setups. I noticed you included them in some of the photos of your submission, so I'm not sure if you took them off later or if it was the other way around. Regardless, the room next door adds a great personal touch by showcasing your sneaker and cap collection. And by the looks of it, you're also a fan of Off-White. Fancy stuff, my guy. I'm very pleased to see another couple on the show, so thank you, Temu, for participating. Wrapping up the episode is Tom, also known as Splash, with his dual-cornered setup. He's an 18-year-old, soon-to-be a college student from Minnesota, who built the setup over 3 to 4 years by saving up most of the money he made from previous jobs. According to the notes, nearly every component has been upgraded at least once during that time. You know, I would have loved to see some pre-upgrade photos just to get a glimpse of what the original form of this setup looked like. He combined 2 Carvely countertops supported by 3 Alex drawers to create this cozy, somewhat floating corner setup. One of those drawers is placed right in the corner, but if you look closely, you'll notice he pulled it slightly out to support the very end of the corner with IKEA Olaf legs instead. This smart adjustment gives him much easier access to the drawers. Also, I love how the oak finish of the desks complements your wooden wall beautifully. It's given a middle of the wilderness cottage vibe to me. You know, this kind of reminds me of Zach's setup from episode 171 with the entire wood wall he created too. Except Zach went with a darker wood finish, which looks more homey, as opposed to Tom's outdoorsy cabin look, in my opinion. So let's start with the laptop setup on the right. We didn't get any specs, but it appears to be an Asus Zephyrus laptop connected to a 27-inch 1080p Asus display, primarily used for schoolwork and gaming on the go. For peripherals, he skipped the keyboard and included only the Razer Orochi V2 mouse. Beyond that, there isn't much else here besides the decor, so now let's turn our attention to the main course. The main setup features 2 Acer monitors, a higher resolution, higher refresh rate monitor on the right as his primary display, and a 1080p 144Hz on the left as his secondary. Looking down at the desk, we'll see that he went with a fully custom ACO 75% keyboard and the Aria XD7 mouse, both resting on a samurai-themed mousepad. I actually really like the design here. The rest of his gear is well organized with his controller on the right and the cables for the Switch and Stream Deck neatly routed to the back of the desk in a straight line. His audio gear of choice, on the other hand, includes the Arctis Nova 7 headphones and a Blue Yeti Nano microphone, which is mounted to a boom arm on the left side. It doesn't look like he has dedicated speakers and instead uses the default speakers from his Acer monitor when consuming content. I'm not entirely sure about the sound quality, but hey, if it works, it works. Taking a step back to examine the cable management, it's clear that Tom spared no effort. The sheer number of cable clips he used is proof enough. It seems that if even a single cable was hanging down slightly, Tom secured it with a cable clip to ensure it lays perfectly flush with the tabletop. This trend extends across both setups and even behind the Alex units. I mean, just look at that perfect positioning of the cables for the USB hub. I do think that oak-themed cable raceways could have made the cables blend even more seamlessly with the wall, but that's just a very minor suggestion. Exceptional work on the cable management. Onto the Dark Knight powering this setup, ladies and gents. A beefy system featuring a Ryzen 7 5800X and an RX 7900 XT housed within the gorgeous Height Y60 chassis. In case you'd like to perfect it down to the
last minute details,
you can always pick up the reversed blades from Lee & Lee, which I'll link below. This was truly an amazing example of how to execute a corner setup. Thank you, Max, for coming on the show. And with that, we are done for today, boys and girls. Let me know in the comment section which of these setups was your absolute favorite. And I'm gonna take one more shot before I head out because why not? Cheers.